Okay, guys. As caregivers, this spotlight is is just what it says. We're going to spotlight some caregivers that are doing some amazing jobs that will share their stories. As we all have stories, just be prepared to hear each of their stories.
Fantastic. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Some of you probably have seen me before. I do a lot. I used to do a lot of work with the consortium, and I'm so thankful for them and the things that I've learned. I am Vanessa Rhodes. I am a retired teacher, and I am a mother to an adult warrior, and we've been the gamut of it. And so when we started on the planning committee, and I've been on the planning committee all 5 years that we've done this, and five is the number of grace. And so this is the year that you guys are going to give yourself grace and take your self-care seriously. And what do I mean by that? We were always mouthing, we were taking care of ourselves. Oh, yeah, I did this and I polished my toes and I washed my face, blah, 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 blah. How about I go to a doctor's appointment that was a checkup and had to leave there in an ambulance? And when I arrived at the ER, my warrior beat the ambulance to the hospital and he told them, "We're going to pray right now." And I was like, "Oh, I wonder, do I act like that when he's sick?" And once we were back in the ER room, they were asking me, "What medications do you take?" And I was sitting there and I was like, "Okay, my son takes da 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 da, and my husband takes da 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 da." And I couldn't remember anything that I was taking. And then I couldn't even remember the last time I had filled my own prescription. And in the end of that, I had to see a cardiac specialist and I had to make some adjustments that I am yet making. And the funny thing about it is, I was running around doing all those things for everyone. When I got out of the hospital, that ER stay, those gentlemen all had, I'm the only queen at my house. So all the kings had to sit down. Mind your health, because we need you too. So I'm telling you now, give yourself some grace. Mind your health. Okay? We need you.
Wow. Vanessa, that's great, and there's so many takeaways from that. I just me have to listen to what you're saying. I mean, right now I'm just this is life is hectic right now for everybody, and I think that being very mindful and intentional about our health care and our self care
Yes.
is essential. It's essential.
Yes.
So thank you
Put your
for your
mask on
share.
first.
And
Yes.
yeah, yes, yes. And you even had to stumble into knowing that you had a situation because you went for an appointment. And oftentimes we don't even get that, that that heads up to do that. It just comes upon us when we're at home in a yeah. All right, so next up, we'll have Mr. Patrick Green, and he will be sharing about the father's side of being a caregiver.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am the co-founder of the Be Strong Group. You've already probably met my wife, Brenda Green. I'm a husband, a father of three, and a caregiver to my amazing warrior, Braden Green. You know, this is a little unusual for me because usually I'm the guy behind the scenes that's making it happen, and Brenda's up front representing the Be Strong Group. So it's a little unusual, but just to tell you who I am a Marine and I am a native of Brooklyn, New York. So to think of my sickle cell warrior and the strength that he brings to us each and every day is incredible because I was raised tough. And then when I see how tough he is, it's nothing compared. I mean, my toughness don't compare to his. And so today I want to tell you about about fatherhood from my perspective, love, strength, and finding resilience, even when life throws you into the unknown. When Braden was diagnosed with sickle cell disease, our family's path was shifted. Now, keep in mind, I said it was shifted. It wasn't changed because as parents, we have to learn how to pivot. So our focus changed to where we had to make sure we were setting Braden up for success, to where he could now continue to thrive. you know so that was a big thing for us, because sometimes when people get hit with disasters or what they presume to be a disaster or something that they weren't expected, they get thrown off course. But we have to pivot. It was a moment that demanded clarity. So what I had to do is I had to realize quickly that being Braden's father meant stepping up fully into the roles of a protector, an advocate, and a steady foundation. My mission was to ensure that Brenda could focus entirely on Braden's health while I managed the finances, the household responsibilities, and supporting our other kids. Together, we found our rhythm. As a team, each one of us played a role to support Braden and one another. As a way to create normalcy in Braden's life, we introduced Braden to sports earlier. Now, my wife will tell you that she is a sports enthusiast in the family. I'm fine with that. But we introduced him to baseball, basketball, soccer. He even learned to swim along the way also. So we wanted to make sure that he had his tenacity and learned teamwork and the importance of pushing through obstacles. You know, I think sports gave him a feeling of pleasure, confidence, and a sense of normalcy. I love seeing that big, beautiful smile on my son's face when he hit that ball out in the field. It was amazing. And when he sits there and he hits his jump shot that he currently brags that he's so good at. And we even had him playing flag football for a while. But, we realized that, Braden couldn't keep up with the pace of some of his friends or his teammates. So Braden, in typical fashion, he discovered a different way to connect to the game. He began to analyze the sport, from a statistical lens, as I like to say. He studied teams, he studied strategies, player stats. He looked at previous records and the outcome of games. So watching him dive into numbers and turn these things into his challenge into a passion was incredible. What could have been a limitation became a strength. So he turned that weakness into a strength. Braden inspires me every single day, y'all. You know, Through this journey, I've learned that fatherhood isn't loud. A lot of times we're sitting in the background. It's steady. It's the thing that no one sees. It's the dads that sit up late at night and make the quiet decisions and the small sacrifices. You know, it's about showing up each and every day and finding a way to support your family in every way possible. Braden has taught me more about strength than I could have even learned as a Marine. In the military, we're taught about strength, we're taught about being strong. But, sickle cell warriors, they carry that title for a reason. They fight battles most people don't even know exist. They fight pain that doesn't show on the outside. They fight for just little moments of normalcy. These are the true warriors. You know, my wife and I, after years, we founded the Be Strong Group. And the purpose of the Be Strong Group was to build a village for our families. Families like ours need a village. They need a place where they can be held, supported, and understood. A place where you don't have to explain what your pain number is and defend it. You know, this year, well, let me back up for a second. Every year, my wife tries to pick a theme for our organization. This year, our theme is It's Bigger Than Us, because we realize that it truly is bigger than us. It's a reminder that the work we do, the love we give, and the strength we show extend far beyond our own family. It's about building a legacy of hope and resilience that can impact generations and create villages. You know, as part of this village, the Be Strong group has partnered with my fraternity. My fraternity has taken us in wholeheartedly, and we partner with them on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we develop these, what we call them, feeding families bags. What we do is we provide turkeys with the full layout. We give them stuffing, gravy, green beans, the whole full package. And we create all these bags, and we set it up to where the families can come get it. And this is what we do Thanksgiving as well as Christmas.
Well,
And yes,
Mr. Green, you are so spot on with everything you've said. Being a male caregiver, just wrapping up how your son he's been, found his normalcy. He's found his rhythm, and
right.
you've so eloquently stated that. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your share. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, because we're going to move on, and we appreciate everyone, Vanessa, as well as Patrick, that have already shared. So, Ms.
Yep.
Fabian,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Ms. Fabian, we will hear your share at this moment.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fabienne. I am a mother of a sickle cell warrior who became a sickle cell conqueror because he fought the good fight and he conquered. And I'm a sexual assault advocate as well. And I only have one child. I was told when I was a teenager that it was going to be almost impossible for me to have children. And I was okay with that because of past trauma. My mom was she's a praying mother. She's the one who was praying for me to have a child. And after I had my son, I found out 2 weeks that he has sickle cell disease. And they told me he had the worst type of sickle cell. He's a sickle cell SS. And the first time I met the hematologist in New York, she gave me the best advice that I got since I had my son. She said, do not give him any special treatment. Treat him the same way you will treat any other child. Otherwise, you're going to be raising a little brat with sickle cell. And it was the best advice ever. And they told me that we were going to see the signs of sickle cell at 6 months. Unfortunately, he started showing the signs at 2 months old. He had something called dactylitis, the swelling of the fingers and toes, and it was horrible. At 6 months, he had his first hospitalization, And at 9 months, he had his first pain crisis. It was a long and painful journey. And when he was 2 years old, we moved from New York to Connecticut, and I can tell you that we had the worst experience in Connecticut because they could not handle the disease. He was getting worse and worse, and because of that, I didn't have a life. I had to put my life on hold to take care of my son because he was always in the hospital. If it was not for pain crisis, it was for infection, for pneumonia, bone infection, you name it, he had it. And then after 5 years of frustration, they weren't listening to us. The medical team they were not listening to us. But thank God we always stayed in touch with the hematologist in New York. Anything that was wrong with them, you call her, you text her. She will be like, "Give me 5 minutes," and she will call you back. And when they said that, okay, around 7 years, they said, would you consider bone marrow transplant? Because his situation was dire. And we said yes. We called New York. They said, if you want to do it, come back, come do it here. And when we went there, we transferred his care. And a week after, I got a call. They said, your son is addicted to oxycodone. Imagine having an only child at 7 and you found out that he was addicted to oxy. And it was I feel like my life turned upside down. And then around 2019 he developed a vascular necrosis. It's the decay, as you know, of the left hip. He didn't have a childhood. He was always in the hospital. At that moment we knew that we were going to lose him because we were like, he was not growing, he was not gaining weight, he was not growing at all. And then, and thank God in 2020, we got a call from the transplant team of the New York President Hospital to say that there is a new treatment called gene therapy. Are you interested? I'm telling you, I didn't have to think. I said yes. They said there's a possibility he might lose his life, he might develop leukemia. I was not thinking because I'm like, if there's a possibility of him to have a normal life, I'll risk it. Like, because I said, if we don't do anything, he's gonna die. If we do something, he might die. And I'm a person of faith. I believe that my son was a miracle. He believed it. And then I'm like, if God gave me that son, that child, if he had gone through all of that, he's still alive, God will not let us down. And and imagine it was in the middle of the pandemic. They said they started his body. They started getting him ready in April 2020. From April through September, he had 7 surgeries because he kept having infection. To remove the port, it was really horrible. It was a horrible experience, but thank God, like Patrick said, for my village, I had a village. Not only the medical team there, they were amazing. We were doing therapy. I was doing therapy. My son was doing therapy. And to top it all, I was going through a divorce at the same time. And then my health started declining because, like the first speaker said, Vanessa said, I put my life on hold. I kept canceling my doctor's appointment to take care of him. I had an ankle surgery, and then while they were putting a cast for me, my son was with me, and I looked at him. I could tell something was wrong. From my clinic, I had to go straight to the emergency room. I ended up staying 4 days. And because of that, I ended up having 4 surgeries in that same ankle because I never had time to take care of myself. But I can tell you through the treatment, he did chemotherapy. He developed mucositis. It was horrible. My son went there. He was only, I think he was at 90 something pounds, 99 pounds. He left the hospital at 82 pounds. Imagine a 13-year-old, 82 pounds. But now my son is 17 and a half. He's thriving. Never had a pain crisis. Never had an infection. He's my driver because I'm still dealing with my ankle. And when I look at my son, I thank God for grace, undeserving grace. And I thank God for medical team, people who pursue their dream, people who pursue their passion, because I believe that God can use anything and anyone to do whatever He wants. And He did. And I thank God for the amazing medical team at New York Presbyterian Hospital. They don't pay me to do commercials for him, but I am a grateful mother. If they were not, I learned to be an advocate because they taught me to be an advocate for my son. Because what I learned in that process, you don't have to be nice. I just have to be respectful, but I don't have to be nice 24/7. Because sometimes as a mother, the fact that you are not you don't have a medical degree, they don't listen to you. But I had to learn to say, I am his mother. If I tell you something is wrong, believe me, something is wrong. Because my son, he's the happiest child ever. If he might be in pain, and from a doctor's perspective, you're not gonna believe him because he's smiling, he's joking. But I know my son, when he's crying, that means the pain is excruciating. And I am grateful. And now he had it since, like I said, 2021. They when FDA approved it, they picked his story to be a successful story. And since then, now my son, who couldn't grow, he's 5.8, he's 153 pounds, and he's my advocate because he's still on my case to say, Mom, you gotta take care of yourself. Mom, don't forget your doctor's appointment. Mom, even though I'm dealing with myself right now, the fact that as a mother, I know my son is okay, I rest that I can take care of myself because he's good. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, wow, that was so powerful. That just goes to show how caregiving is reciprocal. So we, as we are caregivers, our loved ones, our warriors, they also at times will care for us. And so that brings me into the next speaker. It's Mr. Young, and he will be speaking um, as a caregiver for his dad. Kevy?
Hi, fantastic afternoon all. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you.
just making sure. So those are absolutely, absolutely amazing stories. Hearing from caregivers uh, makes me feel as though we are all superheroes because guys, what we go through with our warriors is amazing, right? And I want to just send love to all of you. But I would like to introduce myself. My name is Keith Young. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and I am a caregiver for a 60 something year old gentleman. Most of you all know him as KW. I know him as Daddy. And our story is unlike most of you because my dad, so you all forgive me for looking at the phone because I had to write down everything on my phone, right? So my dad has always been like Superman to me. I did not know what he was dealing with for quite some time. So I remember in my early child, the earliest I remember is seeing my father, what I know now as a fetal position, and just rocking. He's just rocking, and I didn't know what was happening until I was old enough, and my grandmother would say, "Your dad is in pain." And I couldn't understand what that pain is, why he's in pain, or anything like that. And I remember him saying to me, "I'm okay, everything is okay." All right. And fast forward to now, my dad, unlike most, he is still striving. My dad does not have a lot of pain episodes. Well, I should say, let me say that major pain episodes that he's hospitalized for because he does have his pain episodes ever so often, right? And I just want to talk about my personal journey with dealing with him over the years. So one of the things that I remember is being a teenager and he is in a foreign country and he's actually having a crisis. And guys, you all wouldn't believe that my dad could not get transportation. And he can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember, right? He couldn't get transportation to get to the hospital. And my dad proceeds to walk. Now, those of you who are warriors know how difficult it is to walk in pain. So he has to walk to the hospital. But not only does he have to walk in the hospital, but he has to walk in the hospital in snow. I'm assuming it's probably 2 feet of snow or 3 feet of snow, and this man is trotting through. You all know what cold does to warriors. And he went through that. Hearing that says to me that this man can do anything. I looked at him like Iron Man, like nothing could penetrate him because I was like, wow, how you did that? And his words to me at that time was, I had to get treatment. I had to get treatment because if he didn't, you know what can happen, right? So one of the things that I had to deal with at that time is the emotional reality of me not being able to be there to help him because usually I would hold him up, right? Or I would bring whatever he asked me to bring for him, right? Or be there with him in the hospital as need be. But I wasn't there. I was in a whole different country, and I had to just regulate my emotions because, however I feel, I know you feel it through the phone, right? And it is important that we, as caregivers, regulate our emotions to be able to help our warriors. Yeah. So some of the lessons that caregiving taught me, it taught me patience. It taught me patience. And you all, as caregivers and as warriors, you all have to show patience to each other. It is not easy because it is one of the hardest things you have to do because we can only imagine what you'll go through, right? I had one of the warriors from our organization SISBD here in Trinidad and Tobago. She has now passed on, rest in peace. She said to me she rather have the ability to make a child every single day, give birth every day, than have a crisis. Let that sink in for 2 seconds. She rather make a child give birth every single day than have one crisis. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that screams a lot to me as a man, first and foremost. And then as a caregiver, the kind of pain that she endures on a daily basis, because she was one of our warriors that had pain every day, and you would never know because she smiled the biggest smile. She would carry on conversations. And because I was around her enough, I would know, I would see the little things, and I would say to her, Janelle, you in crisis. And she's like, yeah. I was like, Janelle, so why don't you? She's like, no, I'm good. This was her daily life. And on top of that, she was also a caregiver of her son. So it was a double whammy for her, right? So these things, we have to have compassion for each other and we have to understand that there is strength on each side of the border as a caregiver and as a warrior. And we have to play off of each other's strengths. We have to embrace each other's strengths and to make sure that we carry on. Yeah? And warriors, this is not for you, this is for the caregivers, right? I need you caregivers to please take care of yourselves. Because just as in the aeroplane they say, make sure you put on your mask first before you take care of the other person. If you don't take care of you, daddy, you mommy, you granny, auntie, uncle, son, daughter. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot help take care of your warrior. Because if you are down, then they are out of somebody to help them through their journey, and they depend on you. Right? So self-care is extremely important, right? And we must have a support system around us. Must have a support system around us. My support system is my aunt, all right? My aunt, who's my dad's younger sister, she and my wife, they are my support system, right? If daddy is having a crisis, he and my aunt live in the vicinity of each other. If he's having a crisis, my aunt calls Steve, so. I said, good, meet him up in the hospital. Straight. So the support system is there, and it is important to build that support system brick by brick with your family. All right. Um, so some of the lessons that caregiving taught me is that if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of the other person efficiently. As we mentioned before, patience, as we mentioned before, acknowledging each other's strengths, right? And in closing, I just want to say, even on the hard days, you're making a difference. And your love is felt by your warrior, even if they can't say it. Because we know sometimes when our warriors are in pain, they can't audibly speak to us, but know that they feel the love from you, right? And I just wanted to close with that. I, of course, wanted to thank all the organizers of the event for having me. Thank my dad for having me. Because, guys, at 21 years, he told my dad that his life will be over. And at 21 years, he had me. So I'm his lifesaver. And now I'm his caregiver. All right. So much love to all of you. KW, my father, I love you. And I look forward to many, many, many years of us enjoying each other's company and going through this journey together.
Wow. Wow, KB, thank you so much. Each of you guys have did an amazing job. Um, I mean, coming from every perspective, as a caregiver, self-care, Mr. Green speaking about how the father's perspective of to his caregiver, to his warrior, and how Miss Fabian spoke about her son and the journey that he went through, and then just wrapping it up with Mr. Young being a caregiver to his dad. These stories will, they mean so much. They're so powerful. And so if you guys have any questions that you want to speak directly to someone, feel free to ask, because we're here. We they all have stories. They all have something that was said that was very powerful. I mean, we all can relate in some way to each one of their stories. So, and if
I
you
did see
guys
a
do not
question
have,
before I did see one question. They asked, would you please give an example of how a caregiver can take care of themselves? I don't know who
oh,
that was geared to, but I think
Vanessa,
any of your panelists could join it.
yeah, Vanessa was on that
I think that one was for me because I would have mentioned that in passing when I said that caregivers need to take care of themselves. So some of the things that I do is enjoy the little things.
Mm.
And when I say the little things, I mean exercising, um, eating, because I am a foodie, right? Um, and enjoying the things that bring you joy. That's basically what I mean when I say take care of self. Because what we usually do as well, I'm a father and a husband, and because of that, everybody else seems to be forefront, including including the person that you're caring for. But if you are mentally drained and physically drained, you're unable to give of yourself as much as needed for the other person to get as much as they need to move on to feel what they need to feel moving forward. That's the best way I can put it. I hope I answered your
Yes.
question.
Yes, that was good.
Yeah?
I will
Yeah.
say that me, what I didn't do at first, I didn't allow anyone to help me out because I thought that I was because I'm his mother, I know what's best for him. I can take care of him. But once I allowed people in, I could breathe because I trusted them, and they proved to me they could be trusted. Because I
Right.
had family members who came to the hospital, they slept in the hospital and then say, go for a walk, let's go for coffee. And at first it wasn't easy because I'm like, I want to be there for my baby. I don't want no one to be around because I had lost two sisters. I was always afraid of my son dying when I'm not around.
Mhm.
But I had to let that fear go and allow people to step in. And when I did that, I could have a life. I could breathe myself. And then mental health, I started doing therapy per the hematologist advice.
Mhm.
And it was
Great,
really helpful.
great. Hashtag
So there's
self-care.
another question here in the chat, and this chat was this conversation was meant to Mr. Green, and it says, how do you navigate your son's fitting in with other kids? How did you navigate that?
Well, for me, it wasn't easy at first, but what I did was took what Braden loved and paired him with kids that had to share the same hobbies. You know, Braden is a computer geek. He loves computers, he loved gaming. So we put him in sessions where he can play games with other kids. And then sometimes he'll get in situations where he doesn't want to talk. So the first thing I tell like his teachers, I used to tell him, well, ask him about the game last night, and that will automatically draw him in, and you'll see a different perspective of who Braden Green is. And in college, I know someone asked the question what fraternity I was in. I had a big moment in February where he is a student of the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks! I pay a lot to say that, y'all. And he is a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. He is my legacy. And to see him come out at his probate show was incredible. And to see that every time his favorite song comes on, he wants to run out there and start stepping, y'all. This little shy, resilient kid is incredible right now. So that's kind of how we focus him navigating with other kids.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So yeah. Does anyone else want to respond to that?
I would have to piggyback on that. You were talking about Braden in sports. So we homeschool. And then when we did go to school, I worked at the school. I'm a teacher by trade. So we were always together. But he couldn't run up and down the court with everybody else, but he could shoot the 3 shot. So his job was only they put him in, shoot the 3, he get out. And so, and he plays chess. My kiddo can play a game with you with chess and then sit down and do everybody's move to analyze what was going on with that. And he too became a sports analyst. Loves sports, can tell you da 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 da. So I say encourage them just like they did. Go do something. Here is the thing. He was not sickle cell Clyde. He was Clyde who had a challenge with sickle cell. And we worked that challenge separate from him. It was not him. If anything, it is not them. And if they do something and it doesn't work out right, no belittling that, hey, just choose something else. Life is short. We don't have time to be arguing and fighting all the time.
Yeah, we even with son, just knowing and promoting, like you said, Mr. Green, their ability. You have to know who your kids are from a little kid, from a child. Like if you see them doing, doing art, if you see them doing music, if you see them doing sports, all these different things, you as a parent, that's what we should be looking for anyway. But when you're dealing with a warrior, you really have to just tone in on their gifts and and promote that, celebrate it. I hear so often that Dr. Bailey said, she wanting to be a doctor, and her family, they would call her Dr. Bailey, when she was younger. And that programming of the mind, it's very powerful, and so I promote it. And I think that as a community, we need to definitely promote the gifts that, even on a spiritual note, we need to promote the gifts that we see in our loved ones.